Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. I'm Danny and a member of the Morgen team, there we go, and we're going to be talking about using Morgen as a beginner for student workflows, but it does transfer to working as a team or as individuals, and there's so many things that Morgen can do with events, with tasks, and maybe even using the AI planner to schedule out your day and organize all of the conflicts that you may happen as you're working through your day. So I'm going to move over and show you a bit of Morgen. For those of you joining in live, let me know whether you want me to stay in the light mode here, or if I push the hotkey, you can see I can go to dark theme, and so we can get a bit of a vote going to see whether we want light or dark. I'm going to stick with the dark mode for the moment because that is my personal preference. Now, with students, when I was back as a student, you had a calendar, whether that was Outlook, Google, or a subscription calendar for all of your lectures and modules and places that you had to be. So inside of Morgen, you can connect that calendar and your personal calendar in the same place. So if I go down to the profile picture, my face in the bottom left, and click on Preferences, I can then see an option that says Calendars in the integrations. Here I can connect a Google Calendar, multiple Google Calendars, an Office work calendar, an Office personal calendar, Exchange, FastMail, iCloud, subscription, or other CalDAVs. And you'll notice here that I have 3 different calendars. I have a personal Google Calendar, I then have an Outlook calendar, which could be the university calendar, and then a work calendar. Sometimes you may need, because you don't have access to the Outlook calendar from your university, may need to find the link to that calendar and actually add it as a subscription calendar. So you can add the link in, and then you can see that in Morgen at the same time as all of your other calendars. So I've got these 3 added in. You can see they're connected. This one isn't connected to the cloud, which doesn't matter in this case. And that's it. That's me sorted. So I can see all of those calendars. Now at the moment, I can't see anything because I've turned them all off. If I go to the top right of Morgen, I've got a small calendar, and here I can see all of the calendars and I can turn them on or off. If I tick this button, I can now see the university calendar. These numbers next to that calendar are what we call calendar sets. So if I was to push 0, 1, or 3, this calendar will show. If I push 0, you can see all of these other calendars will also show. I'll quickly show you that. Push 0, everything else appears. I push 4, most things disappear, except from, if I go to the month view, the UK holidays, because that is the calendar set that I'm now in. You see it's there in 4. If I push W to go back to the week view, go back to the calendar and just show this university calendar, what I'm showing here are events. Now some of these are a little bit faded, and some of them are bright. That is because inside of the view settings, when I click on the week, you can see we've got dim past events. If I turn this off, they're now brighter, so I can dim them or show them. I'm going to dim them. The current day is also wider, so I can turn that one and to make it narrow or to make it wider. And then I can show or hide weekends. So you can see Saturday and Sunday. I can show or hide those days. The declined events, I'm showing them. So this is to be if you were invited to an event, I'm showing them. I'm not merging duplicates, I'll get to that in a second, and then you can hide or show completed tasks. But we're currently with events at the moment, so we'll get back to that. And you'll see here, all of these events, if I single click, will show basic information. If I double click, it gets to an edit window. If you don't have edit permissions, you'll see a lock icon next to the event. So that could be if it's a subscription calendar, or if someone's sharing that calendar with you. This one, I have edit permissions, so I can change the title of the event. I can add description or information, add tags to change the color. So if you do want to change, say, biology to a certain color, let's add biology as a tag. I can make that a green tag. So now all of the biology, so if I go to next week, will be green. So I've color coded the biology lecture. And we've got another one here. So I can double click and I can add that biology tag to it. If I wanted to change the color, I can click on the tag, and change the name of it, and changing the color, click on the circle with the arrow, and now I have the full color picker, so I can go and change and select any of the colors I want. But this doesn't change the color of the calendar, just the event. So what you'll notice up here is purple is the calendar color, green is the tag color. So I could change the color to yellow if I wanted. So now the tag color is yellow. So that's all of biology are yellow, but the university calendar is purple. If I go into preferences, I'm going to push P on my keyboard, quick shortcut to get there. Active calendars. university, you see there it is, it's purple. I can go 3 dots. I can manage the reminders from here. So at the moment I have a 10-minute reminder for every event in that calendar, but more specifically for us at the moment is I can change the color. So I can change the color to an orange, a yellow, a green, a purple, or just like with the tag, I can click on the arrow and come into this color picker selector. So you can see now all of those, so psychology included, are being changed. I'm going to keep it to purple just so I can remember which colors they are. And so you can change any color of any calendar inside of the preferences here, but you can also then add a tag to any event to additionally change that color. So now I can see it's in the purple calendar from the bar at the side, which is the university calendar, and then it's biology because it's got the yellow biology tag. If I then want to create a psychology tag, into here, go psychology, type that out, new. Now obviously that's purple, it's the same color, so let's change that to a green. Now I've got the psychology in the purple university calendar, but it's green, so I have a color difference. If I go to next week, I can see biology, psychology, biology, and then I want to add the psychology tag to this psychology lecture, save, and now I have got a different color visualization of what my calendar looks like and what I'm going to do with it. But this is just one calendar. This is my university timetable, my university calendar. When I go and come up to these calendars, I can then add, let's say, my work calendar. Maybe you work for yourself or you work in a company, so you could have a shared calendar or multiple calendars. And now you can show this also next to your timetable. And this is where maybe you need to say to your boss or say to whoever you're working with, I can't do these times because I'm going to be in a lecture at that time now. And this is where you can cross-check both of those calendars. You can see stand-up is actually unavailable to me on a Monday and a Tuesday in this example, and Friday probably unavailable as well. So I could then decline those events from here. Double click, and then I can decline those events and say, sorry, Morgen team, I'm busy at that time. And what else you'll notice is I have here a buffer via Morgen. When I double click, this is still inside of my work calendar, but it's been automatically created. That's because inside of these events, there are attendees, and Morgen is automatically creating a buffer time event to say, actually, we need to give you some time because after my event, I'm summarizing my notes and things like that. I'm going to give you some time and block out time on the calendar as well. So I know actually, even though the meeting has finished at 4 o'clock, I'm busy until 4:05, and that is the time. If I zoom in, so you can see we've got 9 o'clock till 5. If I zoom in using the square bracket on my calendar, you can see there it is. We've now got 1 till 2. Much bigger when it comes to the times. These are actually only 5 minutes. If I zoom out a couple of times, they look similar size, so you can still read it, but they're actually really small. So zoom in a second. So buffer time. How does this work? If we go to the crossed arrows inside of Morgen, you can then see we then get to the Morgen workflows, which will bring up the Morgen platform in your browser. I'm using Microsoft Edge, and here it is. And these are the 3 different workflows that you could create inside of Morgen. And buffer time is the one that we were just talking about. You can create a buffer time, and what this does, if I go to create, you can label it, select which calendar you want, so any target calendar. At the moment, we're looking at my work calendar, and then it will create an event either before or after, and then for short meetings, so for meetings 30 minutes or less, it will create a 5-minute, which is why the stand-up is only a 5-minute meeting afterwards. If it was a long meeting though, the buffer time could be longer. Now, I'm not going to create another one, so I'm going to go back, go to my workflows, and I've actually removed it, so I can create that buffer time. So buffer time after 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's select the calendar, which is the work calendar, save, and go to your workflows. There it is. Now we've got the buffer time workflow working. We've also got a propagation workflow. And what that means is you have a target calendar, work calendar, and then a source calendar, so personal. So any event that's in my work calendar will go to my personal calendar. We come back to Morgen and we show my personal calendar. You can now see inside of my personal calendar, we've got busy via Morgen, very similar to the buffer one. So buffer via Morgen or busy via Morgen, except the busy is at the same time as stand up. So if we go to today and just zoom in a bit on this time, you've got stand up, which was a work event. And Morgan recognized it was a work event and created an event inside of my personal calendar. Why would you want to do this as a student? Well, if you've got a meeting or you've got somewhere you need to be for a lecture and you want family or friends to know that you're busy at that time, you can propagate your university calendar to your personal calendar so they know that you're busy. Or vice versa, your personal calendar to your work calendar if you have edit permissions. This also works with any of the other calendars that you have, so that could go with sports events. So making sure your club coaches know where you are, something that I did when I was at university. So I was members of multiple sports teams. They wanted to know when I could train and when I couldn't train. So they had my agenda to manage load and things like that for high performance sport. So this could be really useful when sharing information when you're busy and when you're not busy. So that is the propagation workflow and the buffer workflow. The other workflow is the travel time. So what you'll notice here is I'm going to the velodrome and Morgan has automatically created a travel time event. So it's calculated the distance between where I'm at and the location and created an event for that. What this means, again, is it blocks out the time in your calendar so that you're not, say, for example, if you had a lecture at this time, you know, oh, I can't get there. So either you're going to have to deal with the lecture or you're going to have to not go to the sport event. I probably would go to the sport event, but that's me. And then you can also work out when it's best to study, because you can't obviously study when you're traveling. And so the automated travel time does this for you in a 14-day window. So if we go a couple of weeks in the future, you can see the travel time event hasn't been created because maybe the sport changes. So travel time works 14 days into the future, similar with buffer time. But those are the three calendars. And what I can do, remember what I said at the start with calendar sets, if I push 4, shows the holidays. If I push 3, it now only shows my university schedule. So if I want to quickly look at my university schedule, go to 3. When I see my personal stuff, I push 2. And let's zoom out a little bit. You can see I've also got a task in here, which I'm going to get to in a second. But if I want to see both at the same time, I can push 1. Now I've got my university schedule, my work calendar, and my personal calendar all in one view. And I've got some tasks in here. So, tasks. How do Morgan tasks work? I'm just looking through my notes. How do Morgan tasks work? If I go to the left sidebar, where we clicked on the Morgan workflows crossing arrows, I can go to the task section at the top. And here it opens up the task sidebar. What you'll notice is I have all tasks. The all tasks section shows tasks from every single integration. Then I have specific sources. So this is the Morgan tasks, which I've got a few lists in. I've got an inbox list, psychology, biology, and then a habits list. I'll go through it in more detail in a second. But then I have integrations. And if I click on this button, it says connect a task integration, I can pick from any of these integrations. So you could connect multiple Notion workspaces with multiple Notion databases. Click up, Linear, Todoist, Google Tasks, Microsoft To Do, Outlook Email, Obsidian, or Zapier. As a student, my personal use case, Notion could be for taking notes. So you can have your notes linked to the tasks inside of Morgan, so when you're going to do them. Also, if you're doing a collaborative project and you want to know when people are going to be working on things, Notion can also be useful for that when you're working with other people, either on an essay or an exam, revision, or on a presentation. Similar with ClickUp. Really good for collaborative workspaces, whether that's in work or university. Similar, you can see what other people are doing and filter the tasks inside of the view, which I'll go through later. Linear, similar process. Todoist, Google Tasks, and Microsoft To Do are, for me, a little bit more personal. So if you want to quickly add a task, you can do quite easily with these three tools. I use Google Assist when I'm driving in the car to add tasks to Google Tasks. And all of these come into Morgan and can be seen in this task sidebar. So we've got the Morgan task. And if I click into the ClickUp, we then have these default views at the top. Overdue, due today, due tomorrow, due soon. You'll see it's the same in this view. If I show all of the groups, these groups are currently empty. And what I did is I ticked this button off. So hide empty groups. So anything that doesn't have a task in it's going to hide. If I show it, it's now going to show them all. But I can turn these off because these are lists. So I can turn off the due today list. And now the due today list has disappeared from all of these views. If I come back to Morgan, I could turn that one back on. If I come into Todoist and I change that setting, so let's turn off the due tomorrow and due soon. It's now removed it from all of the views. So those specific due lists go across the board. So let's turn those all back on. Let's show them here so we can see them in all of the views. Yes, there's nothing due there. There we go. Let's come in here. There we go. So now we've got the due views and we have the other grouped views. Inside of Morgen, when I click into the view settings, I'm grouping by task list. It's something I've created inside of Morgen. I can create a new task list by clicking the button at the bottom here, or I can go to view and then add new task list. You can't create a new task list in any external task integrations. You also can't create tasks in Morgen to those task integrations. Morgen brings them in and then you can schedule them and complete them from Morgen. So if we have a look at this review the live stream task, where is it? If I double click, similar like I did with the events, I get all of the information. So we've got the task title, we've got the notes section for if I want to add notes. I then have a planned start and planned end, which I'll go into a little bit more detail later on. And then I can see the task list. This is in Morgen and it's in the inbox task list. So if I go to Morgen, inbox, here it is, review the live stream. There is a small calendar icon. If I hover over it, it says schedule today at 8 PM because that is when it's scheduled. That is one of the schedule times for this task. I can, inside of Morgen, schedule this again. And this is where Morgen gets a little bit different to some of the other task management tools, such as ClickUp, Todoist, Notion, because a task can have multiple planned start and end times. So when I double click, remember we've got 8 till 9 is a planned start and planned end. But if I drag this in again, and let's say we're going to do this at 10 o'clock as well, now that single calendar has changed to a double because we've got two different sessions. And when I double click here, we've got a different planned start and different planned end. The task list is still the same, and then the title at the moment is still the same, and it's still in the same task calendar, but they are different. They are different task sessions. If I add a due date to this task, so inside of here we've got a due date. Let's say it's due on the 22nd and save. There are a few things to note. First, there it is. It's showing the due date inside of the calendar. So this is the due date visualization. If I go to the view settings, I can manage the due dates on the calendar. If I turn this off, it's now hiding them. If I turn this on, it's now showing them. Second, this task, review the live stream, is now appearing in the due tomorrow due list because it's due tomorrow. If we move this due date visualization to Saturday, it's now going to move to the due soon list because it's due Saturday. And when I go to the task, you'll notice the due date's also changed to the 23rd. I go to this task, which is a different session of the same task. It's got the same due date. So just to recap, the due date syncs across all of the tasks, so all of the different task sessions, but the planned start and planned end are different. Why this is significant is if I go to ClickUp, and let's say I have a module 202 task, and I bring this in to Morgen, the due date won't sync back to ClickUp because the plan date won't sync back to ClickUp because it's specific to Morgen, but the due date will. If I push delete, it's now removed that plan date, but the due date hasn't changed, hasn't been needed to be changed. If I go to this task, so if I click on buy spare pens, something that I might need to do for university, click on open in Todoist. It's opened in my browser window. Let's go to application. It's open in my browser window and you can see there's no due date. If I add a due date for today, the due date is different from the planned date, so it won't be on the calendar, as in due in the calendar, but the due date will be shown. We come back, we have a look. Let's just give it a quick refresh, speed it up. So we've got the due date. It's showing in the calendar up here, but it's not a task. It's a due date visualization. So if I turn this off, it's now gone. If I turn this on, it's now appearing. If I want it to appear in the calendar, I could block on the calendar. And you can see there it is. It's now blocked a time on the calendar. So now this is a task session, or I could drag it in from the side. And both of these, just like these last two, are different task sessions of that task. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. And if I tick this off, I get a bit of confetti for completing that task session, but the entire task hasn't been completed. So if I tick this button done. Now it's been completed, but I can undo it. So I can push Ctrl Z or push the undo button. Now that task session is still there. However, in some cases, you might say, you know what, I've done that task session, but I still have work to do and I don't know when I'm going to do it. So I'm going to keep the task in the sidebar. What that means is, you can see here, the task is still open. It's still active. I can still schedule it. And so it's not been completed in Todoist. But if I tick the task off here, now it will be completed in Todoist. If I show you Todoist again, you can see my inbox is now empty because the task has been complete. So that is planned sessions, due dates, and task visualization inside of Morgen with tasks. The reason this is useful is how you can use these task sessions in multiple different ways when planning essays and projects, which I'll go through later. So we've got different ways to organize tasks inside of Morgen. As mentioned, we've got the task groups inside of here. We've got the grouping task lists. But then there's also importance inside of the Morgen tasks. And then if we go to the other integrations, we have other ways to group tasks. So at the moment, there's no grouping inside of the ClickUp. But if I go to status, now we've got in progress and to do. So you might want to put all of your modules in to ClickUp or to wherever you're storing your tasks and group them by what's in progress. So say semester 1 or term 1, you're doing module 102 and 101. But then in term or semester 2, you're doing modules 202, 201, 103 and 101. So you can see in progress is there and to do is there. You can then filter out what you don't want to see. So I don't want to see things that haven't started yet. And this is another way to filter through the tasks that you want to do or the tasks that you want to see. And you'll also notice, if I click on this button, we've got, be wrong, that's from a different task. We've got subtasks that also come into Morgen from external tools, such as Todoist, ClickUp, etc., etc. So we can group by status, or we can group by priority. So we've got urgent, high, medium, low, none. Then we've got other options such as tag or list, and here we've got the modules, the subjects. So we've got the modules inside of the subjects. Again, a different way to see the tasks inside of Morgen, depending on the integration that you've got and the viewing options that you have inside of grouping. Once you've grouped by something, you can then order by something else. So maybe we want to group by the list and then organize by status. So biology first and then status. At the moment, we've got to do and in progress. So let's change the order direction by status. Well, that's ordering all of it, isn't it? Direction, descending, Morgen priority factor, bring this one back. Yeah, there we go. And so you can play around with the ordering. This is the Morgen priority factor that the AI planner uses, which I'll go into more detail later. Ascending or descending orders, lists, organizing, hiding empty groups. And then if we want to, we can say put psychology above biology. So we've now got psychology at the top, biology underneath. Inside of Todoist, because there is different information on Todoist tasks, we then have the labels. If we go here, we've got labels, sections, project, and priority, or no grouping, which was different from ClickUp. Quick revision. We've got status, priority, tag instead of label, list, and then folder. In Notion, we've got the properties. So I've named a select property course. Then I've got a person property, person. I have a select property importance and a select property energy. So you can name the property inside of Notion and then group by them. So I've got fundamentals or advanced. These could be different lectures for notes. So when I'm dragging in this lecture, so say this task is actually going to be at the same time as this lecture, I know I've got my notes. So have I done my notes for this lecture? I can double click, open in Notion, take my notes inside of Notion and then say, yes, I've done that, and I can tick that task off. That is one way that you could use Notion or Obsidian or ClickUp or Todoist or Morgen, because you can take notes inside of the description, depending on how long your notes are, inside of a task that matches up with a lecture. And so into here, we can then say group by person or group by importance, and you can see all of those are changing. Google Tasks, again, similar filtering options and grouping options to do. And then Obsidian, what I personally do, because Obsidian is my personal note taker, if I go to view, is if I'm using lectures and students as an example, I'll have a vault, and then inside of that vault I'll have a file called Psychology 102, and inside of that file I'll have tasks. So inside of Psychology 102, I have tasks for the essay and anything else that I'm going to do. If I'm going to do lectures, I might then organize by tag instead of file. So I can come to view and then go instead of note by tag, and now you can see now we've got the research tasks and the essay tasks that are showing. But that's not all, because inside of Morgen, these are all source lists, and then we have the all tasks list, which you can see is showing all the tasks from all the integrations to do, Morgen, ClickUp, etc., etc. We can then have a specific view, a filtered view for certain sources. So inside of this inbox view, which I've created, I'm showing Morgen tasks in the inbox list, Google tasks in the my task list, which is the inbox, the Todoist project, inbox, and then Microsoft To Do, inbox, and tasks. So this is just inbox tasks. I don't want tasks about anything else. But if you've got tasks coming in from various places, you could create a specific view for one topic. So if you're doing collaborative work inside of Notion for biology, we can come into here and say we want the fundamentals, and we also want biology from ClickUp, and we want, there was a biology from Morgen as well. We can change all of this, update it, save. Now I've got only the, oh, let's get rid of that one, get rid of that one, get rid of that one, that one, that one, that one, update. Now we go biology and save. Now I have a biology task list. So instead of seeing all of the tasks or all of the Morgen tasks, ClickUp tasks, etc., I can come in and say, I just want to see everything that's going on with biology. And you can create a filter for each module, each subject, or maybe you have your tasks filtered by assessment. So you want to have tasks in Obsidian. So when I come to Obsidian, I'm going to use that as an example because it's currently up on my other screen. If I make this a bit bigger, I can say, you know what? This is going to be an essay task. This is an essay task. But I want biology and psychology as an assignment, and then go assignment. And I only want the assignment tasks to appear inside of this filtered list. If I come back, I can create a different one. So I come up here, go Obsidian, and then go assignment, save, assignment, and then save. Now I have two different filtered lists, one for assignment, one for biology. So if you could have one task inside of your biology, your psychology, your anatomy and physiology, and all the rest of them, and then in the assignments, show all of your assignments that you need to do. And that is where you can then start planning them out and putting them on your calendar so you know how long it's going to take and when you're going to revise for those tasks. Right, so that is the task integrations and bringing tasks in. One way that you can create tasks, so Morgen tasks or events, is using the command bar. Before I do that, I'm quickly going to remove both of these. So there's two ways to bulk select and delete tasks and events inside of Morgen. So I've left clicked this task. I can hold Control on my keyboard and left click. Now I've got a window at the bottom that says, do you want to delete both? I can either say yes or no. I'm not going to delete them yet because I'm going to show you the other way. Where you hold Shift, you can see my mouse has gone from a mouse to a crosshair. And now I can highlight those two tasks and push delete or clear selection, and that will unschedule those two tasks. It won't delete the task. So for clarity, come back into the inbox. You can see review the live stream. It's currently scheduled twice. If I clear the selection, delete, and then delete those two slots, the two slots have been deleted, but the task hasn't. So they've been unscheduled. The two scheduled slots have been deleted or unscheduled, but the task still exists. It's still inside of Morgen, so you can drag it back in and then delete that task session again. So the command bar, I use this all of the time. When you're in Morgen, it's Control K. That's the shortcut, and then you can start using those shortcuts. If we go to P, click on shortcuts, you'll notice if we scroll down, you've got lots of different shortcuts in here, and I believe, oh no, I scrolled too far. Where is it? There's the global shortcut that I was looking for. So Alt-C opens up Morgen on your computer, but then the global shortcut to toggle the command bar is Control-Shift-K. And if it's not working, it might be disabled in the general settings, which is down the bottom here. You can see global toggle. You can turn it on or turn it off. What this means is when you push Control-K, you can start typing out whatever task you want in natural language. So biology revision, and it's defaulting to an event at the moment. So I can push down arrow to make it a task, but you'll notice there are also tip hotkeys to add information. If I go to the event, changes slightly, I can add a location, a tag, or an attendee. So if I want to create biology revision, let's say we want it to be the biology tag. We want to put this in my tasks calendar because it's going to be something that I'm going to be doing inside of my task calendar. I don't want to invite anyone, so I don't need an attendee or location. I then push let's schedule this for 7 p.m. today. Now go enter. Oh, that's done it for tomorrow because 7 p.m. would have been in the past. That makes sense. So now it's scheduled in biology revision for tomorrow. So let's do that again. Control-K. Let's go psychology revision at 8 p.m. today. We're going to go psychology tag. Yes. And now I've added in that event inside of my tasks calendar. So when I double click, you can see, I added this one to the task calendar. This one's in my personal calendar. You can tell the difference. Blue, orange, but I can change it from my personal to the tasks and confirm. And now it's in my task calendar. I separate them so that I can see the visual difference between blue and orange. So when I'm adding tasks in from Morgen and I drag them in, you can see it's blue. I drag this one in, also blue, and that bulk selection, left click, left click, left click, left click, delete, enter, they've all gone. So now I can schedule those in as tasks instead. Control-K, I'm going to do biology revision. We're going to do it at 8 p.m. and it's going to be today, but instead of going down on the arrow key, I want to put this in my biology task list. You can see I can go greater than, let's actually hover down for a second. See here, there's the greater than, so it lets you put something in a task list, and because it's in a task list, Morgen knows it's not going to be an event, so the task is by default. I could then add a priority if I wanted, so medium priority. I can add a due date to this information, so I want to make sure this is done probably by tomorrow, and now I can save this, and there it is. 1 hour of biology revision. I can then extend that in the calendar, or I can extend that backwards in the calendar. Or if I wanted to say, you know what, actually, I want to do it at some point tomorrow, but I don't know when. So I'm going to drag it into the all day section. Then I can drag it back down into the calendar for an hour session. If you want to do 2 hours, so let's say psychology revision at 8 p.m., but I want it 2 hours, I push 2H. You can see now it's going from 8 till 10 o'clock. I'm going to go there, psychology, enter. Now it's added 2 hours of psychology revision into my calendar schedule, and I can see what's going on. But you may have noticed before, if there's conflict, Morgen will say, hey, there's a conflict. You can't do that. You can't do two things at once. Or maybe you can, but you probably can't. And it gives you a suggestion. Do you want to reschedule the task? So it's rescheduling psychology because I've just moved biology onto it. Do I want to reprioritize with the AI planner or unschedule? Unschedule removes the psychology. Reschedule ASAP. You can see it's putting it tomorrow just after the psychology lecture, which might actually be useful. Or reprioritize with the AI planner, which is going to do the same thing because we haven't added any frames in yet. So let's just remove those two. Remove those two sessions. And what frames are, if I hover this down, we've got events, we've got tasks. These are recurring tasks. They repeat every day to make sure that I remember to eat lunch and to eat dinner. But a frame is if I left click and drag down, I've created a slot on the calendar. At the moment, default event. I can go over to a task or I can create a frame. and this is a smart frame specific to Morgen. It will appear on your source calendars as an event, but inside of Morgen, it will be a smart frame that can be used for visualization purposes or for AI planning, like the AI planner reschedule that we just saw with the conflict. So I'm going to cancel that because I don't want to do anything there. And for tomorrow, I can say from 9 o'clock till 12, so just before lunch, I want to make sure I'm doing my biology work all of the time. So I come into here, I'm going to title this biology, and you'll notice the information inside of the event, inside of the frame is the same as an event. So I've got a start time, an end time, date and time, and then a repeat option. Because it's on a Friday, the default will be every weekday. So this will do Friday, and then the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then continue as a repeated option. But you can change this to just every day. So that includes Saturday, Sunday, every week. So maybe just every Friday at that time, every month, every year, or add something a bit custom. So maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the AI is going to go, yep, I know what that means. Every week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now when I save, this frame you can see is in the background. So the task is showing on top of the frame. Biology event is also showing on top of the frame. But if biology got cancelled, or I didn't need to go to the lecture, or it was shortened, I can delete it, only this occurrence, and now the frame is available for me to do something. If I go to next week, just to confirm, you can see there's the frame on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday. When I click on the label, I can push edit, and I get this edit window back up again. Or I'm pushing the arrow key left and right to go between the weeks, by the way. Or I can double click on the label, and that also brings up this filter option. When I say filter, that is what this button is here. At the moment, any task is going to be suggested. That is, if I come back to the tasks, that is any task inside of Morgen. So that is all 55 could be suggested at this time in my biology frame, which you might want to do. Maybe it's an everything frame. So when I push the AI planner, what it's going to do is look through all of Morgen and see what can be scheduled. So it's looking tomorrow and saying, hey, you've got biology revision and all of these other tasks. And these are the highest priority things that Morgen thinks are worth doing according to the Morgen priority factor, this thing here, NPF. And so we go to all tasks, you can see these are what it's suggesting. Adjust work hours, there it is, biology is there, but these are only suggestions. You don't actually need to follow this, you can change it. So lecture 1, I don't want to do that, so let's ignore that task. Now it's going to suggest some other ones. Module 101, I don't want to do that there, I want to do that over here. So I'm going to manually drag that down. So now, again, it's still hovering. You can see it's hovering, it hasn't stayed there, so I haven't actually scheduled it, it's just a suggestion. I think reviewing the live stream is going to take longer than that, so I'm going to say this is going to take an hour. And I also want to change some of these options over here. So at the moment, the default duration is 15 minutes, which is why there's loads of tasks here. I don't think these are going to take 15 minutes. I think they're going to take 30 minutes. Now there's less suggestions. Breaks and buffers. There's no breaks. I think I'm going to add some breaks. So I can drag the slider over. Now it's going to add a couple of breaks in. The further over I have, the more breaks it is. And now it's saying, yep, you know what? You can't review that live stream because these are far more important to get done. That's what Morgen, the Morgen priority factor is suggesting, to get these done, assuming you have default 30 minutes and those breaks. If I reduce the breaks, it says, actually, you can fit this in now. What I could do is then say, you know what, let's plan a little bit further ahead. So now it's suggesting more, and you'll notice there, lecture 3 is inside that biology frame, so it's suggesting something there, but it's not suggesting anything on Saturday and Sunday because there's no frames there. So Morgen doesn't know what to put there. Once I've pushed schedule all, then it will schedule those tasks. So let's come back to just Thursday and Friday and quickly have a look at this warning section. So these tasks are due soon, so that's the due date, not the planned date, the due date. So they're due soon or overdue. And this one is due today, but there's no time for it to be scheduled before its due date, i.e. today. And so this is Morgen saying, hey, you probably want to do this. And so because I know I want to get this done, you can see it's being suggested there. yeah, it's being suggested there. I know it's going to be put in, but maybe I want to go, actually, you know what? I want to do this before I plan my day at the start. I want to update the due date as well. So now I've scheduled it in and it's going to adjust the suggestions. So now Morgan knows I've added that in. So it's removed that suggestion from here and brought in a different one. And from this point, I can say, you know what? I'm quite happy with that. Let's schedule all. And now you can see Friday, it's scheduled all of those tasks. So I manually scheduled that one. And it's scheduled in all of these other tasks according to the frame. Right, if let's control and remove all of these. Let's delete that and drag this one back so we get a similar looking view. And now when I come into this frame, I change the filter. So instead of it saying, hey, anything can go in here, I only want things from that save filter we created, which brings in the biology tasks, the fundamental tasks, and the biology tasks. Now I can schedule, which is the same as pushing the AI planner button. And now you can see it's only Lecture 1, Lecture 3, Module 101, and the biology revision. So it's only biology specific things that are being suggested inside of the biology frame. That is where you can say, okay, in this time frame, I want to do biology related work. And if we come out, so we've got biology there. If we say we then want to do psychology in this frame, you can go frame, psychology. Inside of here, we don't have a psychology save filter, so I'm going to manually create one. We're going to go psychology from there, and where was it? Was it ClickUp? Yes, it was ClickUp. There it is. So now we've got the task from the Morgen or the ClickUp psychology list. We can save, and then inside of this spot here, I want anything else. I'm going to say anything. I'm going to leave that filter there. Save. Now when I push the AI planner button, we get biology here. We then get psychology in here. So that's just the 201. And then we have all of the other stuff filtered out. And again, I can then right click, change the estimate, mark it as done, ignore the task, drag this task in and say, yep, let's put that one in here because I need to get that one done. And it's going to take longer than that. I think I need to talk with someone. So let's just drag that one out. Now the biology is being squashed out, so I can't do as much biology work. Not great. So maybe the work, there you go, will appear in the anything section. And then I can say, yep, schedule all. And now it's scheduled in that day according to my biology revision, my biology time, my psychology time, and anything else. So instead of blocking out the time with an event or with a task, you can block it out with a frame. And then any tasks relating to that subject or that module will be put into that frame via the AI planner. Now, if something comes up, so let's say we've got a game that happens, a football game or a rugby game or a cricket game or something. It's appeared on the calendar and Morgan's saying, hey, you were going to do some revision there. You were going to do some work there. You were going to do your essay work. What do you want to do with it? I can reschedule as soon as possible. So it's actually going to say, put it on Sunday. So it's going to ask me to do some of the work on Sunday and move a little bit further forwards and then some of it later. Or I can reschedule with the AI planner. So now it's not giving me any work on Sunday because I don't have a frame on Sunday and I don't really want to work on Sunday. And it's moving it all the way, you can see, to Monday and Tuesday. That's where the finish the plan for the new year and the lecture 1 are being suggested. They're going all the way to next week instead of on Sunday. So if it's an urgent assessment, Morgan will probably put it as soon as possible because that's what you've asked, which is on a Sunday, on a weekend, or you can reprioritize the AI planner to keep yourself consistent so you have some sort of balance with work. Or you can say, you know what, I have no idea what I want to do with it. I just want you to unschedule those 2 tasks and then I'll deal with them another time. So if I go to the AI planner and then spread this further into the future, you can see there's those tasks being scheduled in Monday and Tuesday next week. So that is how I personally use the AI, or you would use the AI planner if I was a student. This is how I use it right now for doing my research, my independent research, but also working with academics in some of the projects that they're doing and some of the work that I do running a sports club, and then obviously work as well. So that is revision times, research days. Yes, that is the AI planner. What else I wanted to show you is something that sort of takes us a little bit further, a little step further. So if we remove all of these for simplicity for the moment, and delete that. Enter. We go to, let's go to 3. So we've got the university schedule up, and I push M in the month view. We've got the university schedule up. We've then got the tasks that are showing, the task due dates that are showing. If we come into here, let's just say, so this is the essay. This essay in psychology is going to be due. Let's just put it then so we can still see it in the calendar. So there's the essay. It's the psychology essay. If I double click, I can block it on the calendar, or I can display the preferences. So that's the preferences of the Morgen view inside of the view that was here. So we've got the essay that's due on the 7th, the psychology essay that's due on the 7th. The biology exam currently doesn't have a due date, so submission date. Let's just put this again so we can still see it. Let's put this next. Well, let's not put it Sunday. Let's put it on a Friday. So we've got that one due on Friday. Now I can see, okay, I've got the exam coming in on Friday, and I've got the essay due then. Planning this out, I would do, and this is how I deal with my deadlines, is because of the way Morgen works with multiple task sessions. This essay is due here, and I know it's due there. But what I want to do is make sure I've got enough time to work on it. So I can drag it in here, and then I can drag this out all the way across. And this is in the all day section. If I double click, I think that's because I'm doing to here, move forwards. We've got the task. We've got the task inside of the essay that's inside the task calendar. I can then change this to a different calendar. And what I do is I change it to the projects calendar. So I'm going to go in here. And for context, if I go back to my calendars, you can see active calendars, personal. I have my personal events calendar, my task calendar, my projects calendar, and my habits calendar. For viewing preferences, so if I go back to 1, I can see green are habits, and go back to show some of those. Oh, I don't have any tasks. Of course I don't, because I unscheduled them. Let's drag that one in. So we've got blue because it's a task. Purple is the task list that it's in. That's the surrounding. So events, you had the tags, which we've got inside of here. That changes the color. Task, we've got the task list. So going back to where I was at, if we go to the month view, we go to 3. I'm showing the university timetable. And actually, let's set this up a little bit. So we've got the tasks in here. Tasks is there. Yes. So at the moment, with the calendar set, 3 shows the university. 3 also shows projects, and I don't want it to show tasks, because if I'm working on something, so let's just drag that one in, drag that one in, and drag that one in. If I was to show all of my university tasks as well, so let's add that as a 3, then come to the month view, and then push 3, you can see it starts to add up quite a lot, and especially when you're adding in multiple tasks, so say you've got 4 or 5 tasks a day, you see loads of things here. So what I do is I add, like I say, this essay task to the all day section and to the projects view, the projects calendar, and then the projects calendar goes with the university. So let's take this one off, then come back to the 3 view, the M view, and now I've got the essay in there. And then we want the exam for these 2 weeks. Drag that down in there, or 2 weeks-ish. Go into here, double click, change projects, confirm. But, and this is the important bit, when I push the AI Planner button, those tasks up here don't affect when it's going to be suggested inside of the AI Planner. So you see the exam is still being suggested as a time to do. It's definitely going to take longer than that. So let's just say that's going to take 4 hours. And you can see now the exam is being split across Friday and Monday to make sure I have enough time to get it done. I probably wouldn't do it at that time, so I'll drag that one down there a little bit, and yeah, it'll reorganize itself. Yeah, so I would have this way, I would have the project at the top, so I can see, okay, I'm working on this exam right now, and then have the task inside of the calendar for when I'm going to work on it. So when I push the 1, I can see, drag that one out, and then, oh, I don't have that calendar in the calendar set. Let's just add the project. And then push 1. Now it's going to appear, then we've got the essay. So say I'm doing the essay work in there. So I've got the task. I can complete the task, say, yep, I've done the work for that session, but the task remains at the top as a project reminder to say you still have this essay due. And if you want to double check when it's due, you can come in and say, oh, it's due on the 29th of the 8th. So it's a way to keep track of all of the essays, all of the exams, all of the presentations, the assignments, but also making sure that you can still schedule in time to do the tasks, to actually do the assessments with the AI Planner, or manually dragging them in, keeping up with the time estimate. So you can see here, we've got, starting tomorrow, psychology revision, which is in for, oh, look at that, it's in for 2 hours, perfect. It's actually been given the amount of time it needed because there was enough time in the frame. So that covers the events, the tasks, the frames, the AI Planner, and all of the other information that I think is useful. If you do have any questions, let me know. I'll stick around for a little bit. When it comes to the habits, what I tend to do, so with the plan my day, the lunch, and the dinner, is I have them inside of a different list. And what I can then do is go to view, turn this off, and now it's hidden, it's out of view, so I don't have to worry about it. If you do want to have a look, so I'm going to move my face very quickly up. If you do want to have a quick look at the calendar and navigate, there's a calendar in the bottom left. So if we move forwards a couple of months and go to the 17th, you now see this is what's happening on the 17th. And if I push T, it goes back to today. If I'm in the day view, this is what I use when I'm having a quick look ahead. I'll go Control 3 to have a look at the next 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or however many days in front. You can push X if you want to see the next 2 weeks. And this is a nice way to have a quick look at the calendar. Let's just go back to today, week view. And again, Alt-C allows you to hide it and then quickly show it. It appeared on my other screen because my other screen is screen 1, but it will then quickly show what's going on. Hopefully that's been useful. If you do have any follow-up questions, you can see in the bottom left the help option. You can then contact Morgen support. This will bring up a bubble. Click on the messages. If you've already had a conversation, you can send us a new message, or you can send us a message with this button here and then ask a question, or maybe get some of the default answers, but I will likely be the one responding. So that is it from me. Hopefully it's been useful, and I hope you have a good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are, and I'll see you all next month, and hopefully